The glass jar slipped from Tasha Robinson's trembling fingers at exactly 11:47 p.m., and in that single moment her entire life shattered along with it. The parking garage of Blake Tower stretched out in cold fluorescent lighting, each expensive car gleaming like a trophy in its designated spot. Tasha had been leaning against the concrete pillar, trying to catch her breath after 14 hours of scrubbing floors, when exhaustion finally won. The jar of pickled vegetables she'd spent her last dollars making for her grandmother tumbled from her grip, hit the ground, and exploded in a spray of brine, cucumbers, carrots, and glass shards that seemed to move in slow motion across the pristine concrete. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was watching, helpless and horrified, as the acidic liquid spread like a river directly toward the vintage cherry-red convertible parked in the VIP section. The car everyone in the building knew belonged to Harrison Blake himself. The car that cost more than Tasha would earn in 10 years. The car that had a security system so advanced it probably had its own heartbeat. Tasha's legs refused to move as the pickled juice and vegetables slid under the car, pooling around the custom tires, seeping into every crevice of the undercarriage. The smell of vinegar and spices filled the air like evidence at a crime scene. Her heart hammered so hard she thought it might break through her ribs. Above her, she spotted the blinking red light of a security camera pointed directly at the disaster. "No, no, no," she whispered, finally stumbling forward. Her blue cleaning uniform was soaked with sweat from her shift. Her natural hair, usually neat in a bun, had come loose in wild curls around her face. She dropped to her knees, trying desperately to scoop up the vegetables with her bare hands, but the damage was already done. The brine had already worked its way into the car's expensive paint job, leaving streaks and stains across the gleaming surface. This was it. This was how her life ended. Not from the eviction notice she'd received that morning. Not from her grandmother's mounting hospital bills that kept her awake every night. Not from working 3 jobs that left her so exhausted she sometimes forgot what day it was. No, her life would end because she'd pickled the most powerful man in the city's car. Tasha sat back on her heels, pickle juice soaking into her uniform pants, and let out a laugh that bordered on hysteria. Of all the ways to lose everything, this had to be the most ridiculous. Harrison Blake was a man whose name made corporate executives sweat. He'd built Blake Enterprises from nothing into a billion-dollar empire before he turned 30. People crossed the street to avoid disappointing him. His assistant had once been fired for bringing him the wrong coffee order. And Tasha had just vandalized his car with homemade vegetables. She should run. She should grab her things from the supply closet on the 15th floor and disappear into the night. Change her name, move to another state, start over somewhere Harrison Blake's lawyers couldn't find her. But even as the thought crossed her mind, Tasha knew she wouldn't do it. Running wasn't in her nature. Her grandmother Ruth had raised her better than that. "Face your mistakes with your head up," Ruth always said. "Dignity costs nothing, baby girl." Tasha pulled herself to her feet, her knees protesting after hours of scrubbing. She took one last look at the disaster around her. Broken glass, pickle spears adorning the car's hood like some kind of deranged garnish, and brine still dripping from the side mirror. In the harsh garage lighting, it looked even worse than she'd feared. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. Another text from the hospital about her grandmother's upcoming surgery. Another bill she couldn't pay. Another reminder that she was one catastrophe away from complete ruin. Well, that catastrophe had arrived ahead of schedule, courtesy of one jar of pickled vegetables. Tasha walked slowly toward the elevator, her cleaning cart forgotten near the pillar. Each step felt like walking toward her own execution. She should call Angela, her friend who worked the day shift. She should call a lawyer, though she couldn't afford one. She should do something other than just stand there and wait for the hammer to fall. But what was the point? The security cameras had caught everything. There was no talking her way out of this. No amount of explaining would matter. She'd destroyed property belonging to Harrison Blake, a man who probably spent more on car wax than she earned in a month. The elevator doors opened with a cheerful ding that felt like mockery. Tasha stepped inside and pressed the button for the 15th floor. She needed to collect her things before security came for her. At least she could walk out with whatever dignity she had left. As the elevator rose through the building, Tasha caught her reflection in the polished doors. She looked exactly like what she was, a 28-year-old woman working herself to death and still losing ground. Dark circles under her brown eyes. Uniform hanging loose because she'd lost weight from skipping meals to save money. Hands rough from chemicals and hard work. This wasn't how her life was supposed to go. She'd had dreams once. College maybe. A career that didn't destroy her body. A life where she didn't have to choose between paying rent and buying her grandmother's medication. But dreams didn't pay bills. Dreams didn't keep the lights on or food in the refrigerator. Dreams certainly didn't clean up pickle juice from a billionaire's car. The elevator reached the 15th floor and Tasha stepped out into the empty hallway. The cleaning supplies closet was at the end, tucked away where building visitors wouldn't have to acknowledge that people like her existed. She walked toward it, her footsteps echoing in the silence. Inside the closet, Tasha grabbed her small backpack from the hook where she always left it. She checked to make sure her grandmother's medication was still inside, along with the sandwich she'd saved from lunch. Her hands were still shaking. She sat down on an overturned bucket and pulled out her phone. She should call Ruth, let her know what happened. But what would she say? "Hey Grandma, remember how I promised everything would be okay? Well, I just committed what amounts to vegetable-based vandalism against the richest man in the state, so we're probably going to be homeless and you won't get your surgery. But other than that, how was your day?" Tasha put her head in her hands. She'd been so careful, so desperate to do everything right. 3 jobs, every shift she could get, every penny saved. And for what? To throw it all away because she was too tired to hold onto a jar of pickles. The sound of footsteps in the hallway made her head snap up. Heavy footsteps, multiple people. Security probably. Coming to escort her out. Or worse, coming to arrest her. Tasha stood up, squared her shoulders and lifted her chin. If this was the end, she'd face it the way Ruth taught her. With dignity. With honesty. With whatever strength she had left. The footsteps stopped outside the closet door. Have you ever made one mistake that changed everything? What would you do if you were in Tasha's shoes right now? Drop a comment below with your thoughts, and don't forget to subscribe to see how this impossible situation unfolds. Will Harrison Blake destroy her life, or is there more to this story than meets the eye? You won't believe what happens next. The knock on the closet door was sharp and professional. "Miss Robinson? This is building security. We need you to come with us, please." Tasha opened the door to find 2 security guards in their crisp navy uniforms. They weren't smiling, but they also weren't treating her like a criminal. "Yet. I know why you're here," Tasha said quietly, slinging her backpack over her shoulder. "I'll come peacefully." The older guard, whose name tag read Morrison, nodded. "Mr. Blake has requested to see you in his office." "Now. It's almost midnight." "Mr. Blake works late," Morrison said simply. "He's waiting." They escorted her to the executive elevator, the one Tasha had only ever seen from a distance. Inside, everything gleamed. Polished chrome, mirrors, soft lighting that didn't wash you out like the regular elevators. It even smelled expensive, like leather and something else she couldn't identify. The ride to the top floor felt eternal. Tasha watched the numbers climb. 20, 25, 30, 35. With each floor her heart beat faster. She tried to prepare herself for what was coming. Lawyers probably. Threats definitely. Maybe police. The doors opened to reveal a reception area that looked like something from a magazine. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed the city spread out below, lights twinkling like stars. The furniture was all clean lines and modern angles. Artwork that probably cost more than her grandmother's hospital bill hung on the walls. A woman in a green blazer looked up from the reception desk. Her expression was neutral but not unkind. "Miss Robinson, Mr. Blake is expecting you. Go right in." The guard stayed by the elevator as Tasha walked toward the massive double doors at the end of the hall. Her reflection walked beside her in the polished floor. She looked small and out of place in her stained blue uniform. She knocked once and a voice from inside called, "Enter." Tasha pushed open the door and stepped into Harrison Blake's office. The room was huge, dominated by windows that offered a view of the entire city. A massive desk sat in the center and behind it stood the man himself. Harrison Blake was younger than Tasha expected. She'd seen his photo in newspapers and business magazines, but in person he was different. Tall, maybe 6'2", with dark hair that looked like he'd been running his hands through it. He wore a white dress shirt with the sleeves rolled up and navy pants. No tie. His eyes were an unusual shade of gray-blue and right now, they were fixed on her with an intensity that made her want to step back. "Miss Robinson," he said. His voice was deep and controlled. "Please sit down." Tasha remained standing. "I'd rather not get comfortable, sir. I assume this won't take long." One of his eyebrows rose slightly. "You assume? You're going to fire me, possibly sue me, maybe have me arrested," Tasha said, forcing her voice to stay steady. "I can't afford a lawyer. I can't pay for the damage to your car. So whatever you're going to do, I'd appreciate it if you just get it over with." Harrison studied her for a long moment. Then he reached for a tablet on his desk and tapped the screen. He turned it to face her. The security footage showed everything in painful detail. Tasha leaning against the pillar, the jar falling, her desperate attempt to clean up the mess. From this angle, Tasha could see how exhausted she'd looked. How she'd swayed on her feet even before dropping the jar. "When did you last sleep, Miss Robinson?" The question caught her off guard. "What? Sleep? When was the last time you had a full night's rest?" Tasha's jaw tightened. "I don't see how that's relevant." "Humor me. 3 days ago. Maybe 4. I've been working double shifts." Harrison set down the tablet. 3 jobs according to your employee file. You work here from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m., 5 days a week. Before that, you clean offices in the financial district. Before that, you work at a diner. I need the money. Your grandmother's medical bills. It wasn't a question. Tasha felt a flash of anger. You had someone investigate me? I investigate everyone who damages my property. Harrison walked around the desk and leaned against it, crossing his arms. He was close enough now that Tasha could see the fatigue in his own eyes. Ruth Robinson, age 72, diagnosed with a heart condition requiring surgery. Estimated cost, $75,000. You've been making payments but you're behind. Way behind. Tasha's hands clenched into fists. If you're trying to make me feel worse about ruining your car, congratulations. It's working. I'm not trying to make you feel worse. I'm trying to understand why you were carrying a jar of pickled vegetables through my parking garage at midnight. They were for my grandmother. She loves pickled vegetables and the hospital food is terrible. I make them myself because the store-bought ones are too expensive and too salty for her condition. Tasha met his eyes defiantly. I was bringing them to the hospital after my shift. I didn't see your car. I was exhausted and I made a mistake. A huge, expensive, stupid mistake. But I'm not going to apologize for trying to take care of my grandmother. Silence filled the office. Harrison studied her with those unsettling gray-blue eyes. The car is a 1965 Shelby Cobra, he said finally. Original paint, fully restored. I bought it at auction 5 years ago for $850,000. Tasha felt the blood drain from her face. $850,000. She destroyed something worth nearly $1 million. However, Harrison continued, it's also insured. The damage, while extensive, is not irreparable. The cleaning will cost approximately $15,000. The paint restoration another $20,000. Call it $40,000 total to be safe. Only $40,000. Tasha would have laughed if she wasn't so close to crying. She didn't have $40, let alone $40,000. I can't pay that, she said quietly. You know I can't pay that. No, Harrison agreed. You can't. Which brings me to why you're here. He walked back behind his desk and pulled out a folder. I'm prepared to offer you a choice, Miss Robinson. What kind of choice? Option 1. I turn this over to my legal team. They'll sue you for damages. You'll lose, obviously. Your wages will be garnished for the rest of your life. Your grandmother won't get her surgery. You'll likely end up homeless. He paused. I won't press criminal charges because I don't believe you acted with malice. But the civil suit alone will ruin you. Tasha's throat felt tight. And option 2? Option 2, you come work for me directly. As my personal assistant. The pay is $80,000 a year, plus benefits, including health insurance that will cover your grandmother's surgery. You'll work exclusively for me, which means you'll quit your other jobs. The apartment on the 20th floor is currently vacant. You'll live there rent-free as part of your compensation. Tasha stared at him. You're joking. I never joke about business. Why would you do this? You don't know me. For all you know, I destroyed your car on purpose. Did you? No. I believe you. The security footage shows you were barely conscious on your feet. You're clearly hardworking given that you manage 3 jobs. And your employee reviews here are excellent. My building supervisor says you're the best cleaner he's had in 5 years. Harrison leaned forward. I need someone organized, honest, and not afraid to speak their mind. You've demonstrated all 3 qualities in the last 10 minutes. This is crazy. Perhaps. But it solves both our problems. You need money for your grandmother's medical care. I need an assistant I can actually trust, which is harder to find than you'd think. He slid a contract across the desk. The job is yours if you want it. But I need an answer now. Tasha looked down at the contract. The numbers were there in black and white. $80,000 annual salary, full health benefits, housing included. It was more money than she'd ever dreamed of making. It was enough to save Ruth. Enough to give them both a real chance at a decent life. But it felt wrong somehow. Too easy. Too good to be true. If I mess up again, she asked. Then we deal with it. I'm not expecting perfection, Miss Robinson. I'm expecting honesty and hard work. Can you provide that? Tasha thought about Ruth lying in that hospital bed. She thought about the eviction notice. She thought about 3 years of running herself into the ground and still falling behind. She thought about her grandmother's voice. When someone offers you a hand up, baby girl, you take it with gratitude. Pride is expensive and we can't afford it right now. I can provide that, Tasha said quietly. Yes. I accept your offer. Harrison nodded and pulled out a pen. Then let's make it official. As Tasha signed the contract, her hand still shaking slightly, she couldn't shake the feeling that her life had just changed in ways she couldn't begin to understand. She'd walked into this office expecting her life to end. Instead, Harrison Blake had just offered her a lifeline. The question was, why? The apartment on the 20th floor was nicer than anywhere Tasha had ever lived. Floor-to-ceiling windows looked out over the city. The furniture was modern and comfortable. The kitchen had appliances she didn't know how to use. There was even a balcony with a small table and chairs. This is too much, Tasha said as Harrison showed her around. It was 2 a.m. but he showed no signs of fatigue. It's practical, Harrison corrected. If you're going to manage my schedule, you need to be available. Living in the building makes that easier. The bedroom had a queen-sized bed with crisp white linens. The bathroom had a tub big enough to swim in. The closet was walk-in and currently empty. You'll need appropriate work attire, Harrison said, noticing her looking at the empty closet. Business casual, primarily. I'll have my stylist send over some options tomorrow. Just tell her your size and preferences. I can buy my own clothes, Tasha protested. With what money? You just quit 2 of your 3 jobs. Consider it a uniform if that makes it easier. Tasha bit back another protest. He was right even if it stung to admit. She had maybe $200 in her checking account. Not enough to buy the kind of clothes appropriate for working with a billionaire. Your grandmother's surgery, Harrison continued, pulling out his phone. I'll have my assistant contact the hospital tomorrow to arrange payment. When is it scheduled? Next week. Tuesday. Tasha's voice caught. Are you serious? You'll really pay for it? It's part of your benefits package. Family medical coverage. Your grandmother qualifies. He typed something into his phone. I'll also arrange for private care after the surgery. Ruth will need time to recover properly. Tasha felt tears prick her eyes. She'd spent 3 years fighting to save Ruth, and this man was solving the problem in minutes like it was nothing. I don't understand why you're doing this, she said quietly. Harrison looked up from his phone. Because it's the right thing to do. And because I need someone around here who isn't afraid of me. I'm terrified of you. Really? You've disagreed with me 4 times since we met. That's 4 more times than my last assistant managed in 6 months. Maybe your last assistant was smarter than me. My last assistant was a yes man who cared more about his bonus than doing his job correctly. I'm hoping you'll be different. Harrison pocketed his phone. Get some sleep, Miss Robinson. Your first day starts at 8 a.m. I'll send someone to help you move your things from your old apartment tomorrow afternoon. I can move my own things. I'm sure you can. But you'll be working and I don't believe in wasting time. He headed toward the door then paused. One more thing. The pickled vegetables from tonight. Do you have more? Tasha blinked at the change of subject. What? The vegetables you made for your grandmother. Do you have more at home? Yes. I made a big batch. Why? Bring them tomorrow. I'd like to try them. Before Tasha could respond, he was gone, the door clicking shut behind him. Tasha stood in the middle of her new apartment, feeling like she'd fallen into some kind of alternate reality. 12 hours ago, she'd been cleaning toilets and scraping by on 3 jobs. Now she was living in luxury, working for a billionaire, and her grandmother's surgery was paid for. It didn't feel real. She pulled out her phone and called Ruth. It rang 4 times before her grandmother's sleepy voice answered. Tasha? Baby, it's the middle of the night. Are you okay? I'm fine, Grandma. Better than fine. I have news. She told Ruth everything. The jar of pickles, the car, the confrontation, the job offer. Ruth listened without interrupting until Tasha finished. This man, Ruth said slowly. Harrison Blake. You trust him? I don't know him well enough to trust him. But he kept his word about the contract. And he's paying for your surgery, Grandma. All of it. Ruth was quiet for a moment. Sounds like the Lord is looking out for us, baby girl. Sounds like I got lucky with a billionaire who has more money than sense. Don't be ungrateful, Ruth chided gently. When blessings come, you accept them with grace. This man didn't have to help you. He could have sued you into the ground. Instead, he gave you an opportunity. That means something. I know. I don't understand his angle. Maybe he doesn't have an angle. Maybe he's just a good man who saw someone in need and decided to help. Ruth paused. Or maybe he's lonely and sees something in you he likes. Either way, you show up tomorrow and you work harder than you've ever worked. You prove him right for taking a chance on you. I will, Grandma. I promise. Good girl. Now get some sleep. I love you. Love you too. Tasha ended the call and looked around her new apartment again. She walked to the window and stared out at the city lights. From up here, everything looked small and distant. She could see the diner where she'd worked the breakfast shift, the office building where she'd cleaned at 3 p.m., all the places she'd run herself ragged trying to survive. She didn't have to do that anymore. The thought was terrifying and liberating in equal measure. Tasha eventually made her way to the bedroom and collapsed on the bed without even changing out of her stained uniform. The mattress was absurdly comfortable. The pillows felt like clouds. For the first time in years, she didn't have to set an alarm for 5 a.m. She closed her eyes and fell asleep within minutes. The next morning, Tasha woke to sunlight streaming through the windows. For a moment she forgot where she was. Then memory came flooding back and she sat up with a gasp. Her phone showed 7:15 a.m. She had 45 minutes to shower, dress, and figure out how to be a billionaire's personal assistant. Tasha rushed through a shower in the enormous bathroom, then faced the problem of what to wear. Her blue cleaning uniform clearly wouldn't work. She had a pair of jeans and a few t-shirts in her backpack, but nothing appropriate for an office setting. A knock at her door interrupted her panic. She opened it to find a woman in her 50s holding several garment bags. Miss Robinson? I'm Caroline, Mr. Blake's stylist. He asked me to bring you some options for today. May I come in? Tasha stepped aside, and Caroline swept in with the efficiency of someone who'd done this 1,000 times. She hung the garment bags on the bedroom door and unzipped them to reveal several outfits. I estimated your size based on Mr. Blake's description, Caroline said, pulling out a red blouse and black pants. But we'll do proper measurements later this week. For now, try these. The red will look beautiful with your skin tone. Mr. Blake described me to you? He's very observant. Comes with the job, I suppose? Caroline smiled. Don't worry, dear. He's demanding but fair. And between you and me, it's nice to see him taking an interest in something other than work. Tasha wasn't sure how to respond to that, so she just took the clothes and changed in the bathroom. Caroline had been right about the size. The blouse fit perfectly, professional but comfortable. The pants were tailored and made her look put together in a way she'd never managed before. When she emerged, Caroline nodded approvingly. Perfect. Now shoes. She pulled out several pairs. I brought flats because Mr. Blake mentioned you'd be on your feet a lot. By 7:55, Tasha was dressed, her hair pulled back in a neat bun, wearing red and black that made her feel like a completely different person. Caroline had even left her a leather portfolio and a phone. That's your work phone, Caroline explained. Mr. Blake's number is programmed in, along with all his key contacts. Guard it with your life. Literally. There's information on that phone worth millions. Tasha stared at the sleek device. This is insane. You'll get used to it. Good luck, dear. At exactly 8 a.m., Tasha knocked on Harrison's office door. Enter. She walked in to find him already at his desk, reviewing documents. He looked up and something flickered in his expression. Approval maybe. Miss Robinson. I see Caroline found you. She did. Thank you for the clothes. You're representing my company now. It's an investment. He gestured to a smaller desk set up near the windows. That's your workspace. Computers, supplies, everything you should need. Your primary responsibilities are managing my schedule, screening calls and emails, coordinating with department heads, and generally making sure I don't miss anything important. Tasha sat down at her new desk, feeling overwhelmed. I've never done anything like this before, she admitted. I don't know the first thing about being an executive assistant. You'll learn. I prefer competence to experience anyway. Experience often comes with bad habits. Harrison pulled out a jar from his desk drawer. Tasha's jar of pickled vegetables from last night. I had someone retrieve this from the parking garage. Waste not, want not. You can't eat those. They've been on the floor. The jar was sealed. The vegetables are fine. He opened it and pulled out a pickle spear. I'm curious about what nearly cost me $850,000. Tasha watched in disbelief as Harrison Blake, billionaire CEO, bit into her homemade pickle. His expression didn't change, but he finished the entire spear before speaking. These are excellent. What's your recipe? Cucumbers, vinegar, water, salt, dill, garlic, and a little bit of turmeric for color. My grandmother's recipe. The turmeric is interesting. Adds a subtle warmth. He took another pickle. You could sell these. I make them for grandma, not for profit. Still, it's good work. Better than anything I've bought in stores. Harrison closed the jar and set it aside. Your first task. Review my calendar for the week and identify any conflicts or gaps. Second task. Call the hospital and confirm the arrangements for your grandmother's surgery. Third task. Order lunch for us both at noon. I usually skip lunch, but you need to eat regularly if you're going to work here. Questions? Tasha had about 1,000,000 questions, but she settled for the most important one. Why are you really doing this? And don't say it's because you need an assistant. You could hire anyone. Someone with experience and credentials. Harrison was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was softer than before. 3 years ago, I worked myself so hard I collapsed in this office. Heart palpitations, dehydration, exhaustion. My doctor said I was killing myself. I was so focused on building the company that I'd forgotten there was supposed to be a life attached to it. He met her eyes. Yesterday, I watched you on that security footage. You looked exactly like I did 3 years ago. Except you weren't destroying yourself for greed or ambition. You were doing it for someone you love. That's rare. And worth preserving. The honesty in his voice surprised her. For the first time, Tasha saw past the billionaire CEO exterior to the lonely man underneath. Thank you, she said quietly. For the second chance. Don't thank me yet. Earn it. But there was a hint of warmth in his voice. Now get to work, Miss Robinson. We both have a long day ahead. Tasha turned to her new computer and started learning how to be Harrison Blake's assistant. And if she snuck glances at him throughout the morning, watching the way he worked with intense focus, she told herself it was only professional interest. Nothing more. 3 weeks into her new job, Tasha had learned several important things about Harrison Blake. He arrived at the office by 6 a.m. every day, often before the cleaning crew finished. He drank his coffee black and consumed approximately 6 cups before noon. He had a habit of pacing when he was thinking, wearing a path in front of the windows. He rarely smiled, but when he did, it transformed his entire face. And despite what everyone said about him being cold and ruthless, he remembered the names of every employee in the building, from the security guards to the mailroom staff. He was also, Tasha discovered, completely hopeless at taking care of himself. When did you last eat? She asked on a Thursday afternoon, finding him hunched over his desk reviewing contracts. Breakfast. That was 9 hours ago. Time flies. He didn't look up from the documents. Tasha walked over and physically removed the papers from his hands. You need to eat. Harrison finally looked at her, one eyebrow raised. Did you just confiscate my work? I did. And I'll keep doing it until you take a break. She pulled out the lunch she'd ordered from his favorite restaurant. Grilled chicken, roasted vegetables, quinoa. Your usual. I didn't ask you to order anything. That's why I'm your assistant. I anticipate your needs before you realize you have them. Tasha set the food in front of him. I'll come back in 20 minutes to make sure you finished it. She turned to leave, but Harrison's voice stopped her. Join me. What? I said join me. There's enough food here for 2 people. You always order too much. He pulled out the chair across from his desk. Unless you have other plans for lunch? Tasha hesitated. Eating lunch with her boss felt different from just working together. More personal somehow. But Harrison was already dividing the food between 2 plates, so she sat down. They ate in comfortable silence for a few minutes. Then Harrison said, Your grandmother's surgery went well. I spoke with Dr. Patel yesterday. I know. I was there. Tasha smiled. She's doing great. The doctors say her recovery is ahead of schedule. She's already complaining about being stuck in bed. Good. That means she's feeling better. Harrison paused. She asked me to visit. You visited my grandmother? She called my office and invited me. It seemed rude to refuse. A hint of amusement crossed his face. She's quite insistent, your grandmother? That's one word for it. What did you 2 talk about? You primarily. She wanted to make sure I was treating you well. She also gave me her recipe for sweet potato pie and told me I was too skinny. Harrison's lips twitched. I assured her you were an excellent employee and I would consider her culinary advice. Tasha tried to imagine Harrison Blake sitting in a hospital room being lectured by Ruth Robinson and failed completely. Yet apparently it had happened. I'm sorry if she bothered you. She didn't bother me. It was refreshing. Most people are afraid to speak honestly to me. Your grandmother has no such reservations. She grew up in Georgia during segregation. She's not afraid of much. I noticed. Harrison finished his food and set down his fork. She's proud of you, you know. She told me at least 5 times. Tasha felt warmth spread through her chest. She's my hero. Everything I am, I learned from her. Including how to make pickled vegetables? Especially that. Tasha grinned. Did you really finish that whole jar? I may have eaten more than my fair share. They're addictive. Harrison stood and walked to the window looking out over the city. I've been thinking about your observation last week. About the employee wellness program. Tasha had noticed that Blake Enterprises offered minimal health benefits to lower-level employees. She'd mentioned it to Harrison in passing, not expecting him to care. But he'd listened, really listened, and asked her to put together a proposal. I have a draft ready, she said. But I wasn't sure if you actually wanted to see it. I wouldn't have asked if I didn't want it. Send it to me tonight. We'll review it together tomorrow. He turned back to face her. Your insights have been valuable, Miss Robinson. You see things I miss because you've lived experiences I haven't. Don't stop sharing your observations. Even when they cost money? Especially then. A company that doesn't take care of its people isn't worth running. Harrison checked his watch. I have a meeting in 10 minutes. But there's something else I wanted to discuss. Your living arrangement. Tasha's stomach dropped. Is there a problem with the apartment? No. The opposite, actually. I wanted to ensure you're comfortable. If you need anything, furniture, supplies, whatever, just let me know. The apartment is yours for as long as you work here. Consider it home. I do. It's more than home, actually. It's the nicest place I've ever lived. Something shifted in Harrison's expression. You've mentioned your previous apartments. They were difficult. Difficult is a kind word. I've lived in places with broken heat, roaches, mold. Places where I had to put a chair against the door at night because the lock didn't work. Tasha shrugged. You do what you have to do. Harrison's jaw tightened. You shouldn't have had to do any of that. No, but I did. That's life for a lot of people, Mr. Blake. We don't all get to choose our circumstances. Call me Harrison. At least when we're alone. The formality is exhausting. The request surprised her. Are you sure that's appropriate? I'm the CEO. I decide what's appropriate. He smiled slightly. Besides, you already treat me with less deference than anyone else I know. Might as well make it official. Okay. Harrison. The name felt strange in her mouth. Too familiar. Too intimate. His phone rang, interrupting the moment. Harrison glanced at the screen and sighed. That's my 2 p.m. I need to take this. I'll clear the plates. Tasha stood and gathered the lunch containers. Miss Robinson? She turned back. Yes. Thank you. For making me eat. For the wellness proposal. For being honest with me. He picked up his phone. It matters more than you know. Tasha left his office feeling like she'd just seen behind another wall. Harrison Blake wasn't the cold, ruthless businessman everyone thought he was. He was complicated, yes. Demanding, absolutely. But underneath all that, he was just a person trying to do the right thing. Which made him more dangerous to her peace of mind than she wanted to admit. That evening, Tasha was working late on the wellness proposal when Angela called. Her friend from the old cleaning job, one of the few people who knew the full story of how Tasha's life had changed. Girl, I still can't believe you work for Harrison Blake now, Angela said. What's he like? Intense. Smart. Fair. Tasha paused. Lonely, I think. Lonely? The man is a billionaire. He can have anyone he wants. Money doesn't fix loneliness. If anything, I think it makes it worse. People either want something from him or they're too intimidated to be real around him. And you're not intimidated? Oh, I'm terrified. But he doesn't seem to want me to pretend otherwise. Tasha glanced at the proposal on her screen. He listens to me, Angela. Really listens. Like my opinion matters. And how does he look when he listens? What kind of question is that? The kind that tells me my best friend might be catching feelings for her billionaire boss. I'm not catching feelings. I'm being professional. Professional people don't notice loneliness in their boss's eyes. Professional people don't care about making sure he eats lunch. Angela's voice softened. It's okay to like him, Tasha. He sounds like a good man. He is. But that doesn't mean anything can happen. We're from completely different worlds. So, Romeo and Juliet were from different worlds. They both died at the end of that story, Angela. Bad example. My point is, don't write off something good just because it seems complicated. Life is already complicated. Might as well complicate it with someone worth the trouble. After they hung up, Tasha couldn't stop thinking about Angela's words. Was she developing feelings for Harrison? And if so, what was she supposed to do about it? A knock at her apartment door interrupted her thoughts. She opened it to find Harrison standing in the hallway, still in his work clothes, looking uncertain. Is something wrong? Tasha asked. No. I couldn't sleep. And I saw your lights were on. He ran a hand through his hair. This is inappropriate. I shouldn't be here. But you are here. So you might as well come in. Harrison stepped into her apartment, looking around as if seeing it for the first time. I've never actually been inside one of these units. Really? You own the building. Owning something and knowing it are different things. He walked to the window, the same position he always took in his office. I wanted to apologize. For what? For earlier. When you talked about your previous living situations. I responded emotionally when I should have remained professional. You were just being human, Harrison. That's the problem. I'm not supposed to be just human. I'm supposed to be the CEO. The boss. The person who makes hard decisions without letting feelings get in the way. He turned to face her. But when you talk about struggling, about making choices between rent and food, I want to fix it. All of it. Not just for you but for everyone who's ever been in that position. And I can't. No matter how much money I have, I can't fix everything. Tasha understood suddenly. Harrison carried the weight of knowing he had the power to help but couldn't help everyone. It was its own kind of burden. You're fixing what you can, she said softly. The wellness proposal, if you approve it, will help thousands of employees. That matters. It's not enough. It never feels like enough. But that doesn't mean it's not important. Tasha walked closer to him. You paid for my grandmother's surgery. Do you have any idea what that means to me? You gave me a chance when you could have destroyed me. You see me as a person, not just an employee. That's more than enough, Harrison. He looked at her with those intense gray-blue eyes, and Tasha felt something shift between them. The air felt charged, electric. I should go, Harrison said quietly. Before I do something unprofessional. Like what? Like tell you that I think about you more than I should. That I look for excuses to call you into my office just to see you. That every time you challenge me or push back, I like you more. He stepped back. I'm your boss. Those thoughts are inappropriate. What if I have those thoughts too? The words hung in the air between them. Harrison's eyes widened slightly. Do you? He asked. I'm not sure. Maybe. Probably. Tasha felt her heart racing. But you're right. You're my boss. This would be complicated. Impossibly complicated. And potentially disastrous. Absolutely disastrous. Neither of them moved. Then Harrison smiled, really smiled, and Tasha felt her breath catch. We should probably maintain professional boundaries, he said. Definitely. Starting tomorrow. Good plan. Harrison walked to the door, then paused with his hand on the handle. For what it's worth, Miss Robinson, you're the best thing that's happened to this company in years. And possibly the best thing that's happened to me in longer than that. He left before she could respond, closing the door gently behind him. Tasha stood in her apartment, heart pounding, and realized Angela had been right. She was absolutely, hopelessly catching feelings for Harrison Blake. And she had no idea what to do about it. The crisis started on a Monday morning with a single phone call. Tasha arrived at Harrison's office at 7:45 a.m. to find him already there, his face grim as he spoke rapidly into his phone. She set down his coffee and waited, recognizing the tension in his shoulders. I don't care what Vincent says. Those numbers don't add up. Harrison's voice was sharp. Get the finance team to pull every transaction from the last 6 months. I want everything by noon. He ended the call and immediately picked up another, barely acknowledging Tasha's presence. Something was seriously wrong. She spent the next hour fielding calls and rescheduling meetings as Harrison locked himself in conference calls with lawyers and accountants. By 10 a.m., word had spread through the building that something major was happening. Employees whispered in elevators and hallways. Finally, at noon, Harrison emerged from his office looking exhausted. I need you to call an emergency board meeting for tomorrow morning, he said. Every board member, no exceptions. And I need you to prepare information packets. I'll send you the documents. What's happening? Harrison hesitated, then gestured for her to close the door. Vincent Morris, one of my board members, has been embezzling funds. Millions of dollars over the past 2 years. And now he's trying to use that money to stage a hostile takeover of the company. Tasha sank into a chair. Can he do that? If he gets enough board votes, yes. He's been courting other members for months, poisoning them against me. Claiming I'm too young, too reckless, that the company needs experienced leadership. Harrison's jaw clenched. He's using my own company's money to steal it from me. What do you need me to do? Your job. Keep everything else running while I deal with this. I can't afford any other fires right now. For the next 2 days, Tasha watched Harrison work himself to exhaustion. He barely ate, didn't sleep, and spent every waking moment building his case against Vincent. She did what she could, bringing him food he barely touched, organizing documents, screening calls from board members trying to feel out his position. On Tuesday night, she found him in his office at midnight, surrounded by papers and legal documents, his eyes red from staring at screens. You need to sleep, she said. I need to save my company. You won't save anything if you collapse from exhaustion. Remember what you told me? 3 years ago, you worked yourself so hard you ended up in the hospital. This is different. No, it's not. It's exactly the same. You're killing yourself trying to control everything. Tasha walked over and started gathering papers. You built a strong case. Your lawyers are good. You've done everything you can. Now you need to rest so you're sharp tomorrow. I can't lose this company, Tasha. It's everything I've built. Everything I am. The use of her first name caught her off guard. He'd been careful to maintain formality since their conversation in her apartment. You're more than this company, Harrison. You're the person who paid for my grandmother's surgery. Who remembers the names of security guards. Who wants to improve employee benefits even though it costs you money. That person exists whether or not you own Blake Enterprises. You don't understand. This company is my legacy. My proof that I'm not just my father's son living off family money. I built this from nothing. If Vincent takes it, then what am I? Tasha saw something she'd never seen before. Genuine fear in Harrison's eyes. Not fear of losing money, but fear of losing his identity. You're the man who gave me a second chance, she said softly. Who listens when I talk. Who cares about doing the right thing even when it's hard. That's who you are, Harrison. With or without this company. He looked at her for a long moment, then slowly nodded. Okay, I'll go home. Get a few hours of sleep. Good. I'll be here tomorrow at 6 a.m. to help you prepare. You don't have to do that. I know, but I want to. We're a team, remember? Something warm flickered in Harrison's expression. Thank you, Tasha. For everything. That night, Tasha went back to her apartment but couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about the fear in Harrison's eyes, the weight he carried alone. She thought about Vincent Morris, a man who would steal from his own company out of greed and ambition. The system felt rigged against people like her and in favor of people like Vincent. Men who already had everything but wanted more, who would destroy others to get it. But then there was Harrison, who had everything and used it to help people. Who fought for what was right even when it was difficult. The next morning, Tasha arrived at the office at 5:30 a.m. to find Harrison already there, looking more rested than he had in days. He'd showered, shaved, and wore a sharp navy suit that made him look every inch the CEO. Ready for battle? She asked. As ready as I'll ever be. The board meeting started at 9 a.m. in the large conference room on the 40th floor. Tasha wasn't allowed inside, but she stationed herself right outside, ready to provide whatever Harrison needed. Through the glass walls, she could see 12 board members seated around the massive table. Vincent Morris sat across from Harrison, looking smug and confident. He was older, maybe 60, with silver hair and the kind of face that suggested he was used to getting his way. The meeting lasted 4 hours. Tasha watched through the glass as Harrison presented his evidence, his lawyers backing him up with documents and financial records. Vincent argued back, his own lawyers countering every point. Finally, at 1 p.m., the board took a vote. Tasha held her breath as hands raised. 1, 2, 3 in favor of Harrison. Then 4, 5, 6. She counted quickly. 7 votes. Harrison needed 7 votes to maintain control. He had exactly 7. Vincent had lost. The meeting ended and board members filed out. Vincent stormed past Tasha without looking at her, his face red with anger. Harrison emerged last, looking drained but victorious. You won, Tasha said. Barely. It was close. Too close. He ran a hand through his hair. Vincent will challenge this. He'll try again. But for now, the company is safe. That's a win. Take it. Harrison smiled slightly. Always the optimist. Someone has to be. They walked back to his office together. Tasha had already arranged for lunch to be delivered, knowing he'd need food after the stress of the morning. As they ate, Harrison filled her in on the details of the meeting. "The vote came down to Patricia Chin," he said. "She's been on the fence for weeks. I thought Vincent had convinced her. But at the last minute, she voted for me." "Why?" "She said someone told her about the employee wellness proposal. About how I was trying to improve benefits for lower-level staff even though it would cost the company money. She said it reminded her why she invested in me in the first place." Tasha felt warmth spread through her chest. The proposal she'd written had made a difference. "That's good," she said quietly. "It's more than good. It saved the company. Your insights, your perspective, it matters, Tasha. More than you know." Their eyes met across the desk and Tasha felt that electric charge again. The one that had been building between them for weeks. Harrison stood abruptly. "I should thank Patricia personally. And the other board members who supported me. Build goodwill while I have the chance." "Good idea." But he didn't move toward the door. Instead he walked to where Tasha sat and stopped in front of her. "I couldn't have done this without you," he said quietly. "The past few days knowing you were there, that I could count on you, it made all the difference. I was just doing my job." "No. You were doing so much more than your job. You kept me sane. You kept me human." He reached out and gently tucked a loose curl behind her ear. "Tasha, I..." His phone rang, shattering the moment. Harrison stepped back quickly, pulling out the device and checking the screen. "It's my lawyer. I need to take this." "Of course." He answered the call and turned away, back to business. Tasha gathered the lunch containers with shaking hands, her heart racing. They'd almost crossed a line. And part of her desperately wished the phone hadn't rung. 2 weeks after the board meeting, Harrison appeared at Tasha's desk with an unusual request. "I need you to accompany me to a charity gala on Saturday night." Tasha looked up from her computer. "You need me to organize your attendance?" "No. I need you to attend with me. As my guest." "I'm not sure that's appropriate." "It's completely appropriate. You're my assistant. Having you there to help manage conversations and take notes is reasonable." Harrison paused. "Also, I'd like your company. If you're willing." Tasha wanted to say yes immediately, which was exactly why she hesitated. The line between professional and personal was getting blurrier every day. "What kind of event is it?" "Fundraiser for children's hospitals. Very formal. Very boring. But it's important for business relationships." Harrison smiled slightly. "I promise to make it as painless as possible. I don't have anything to wear to a gala. I'll handle that. Just say yes." She should say no. She should maintain boundaries. She should remember that he was her boss and nothing more. "Yes," she said instead. "I'll go." On Saturday afternoon, Caroline arrived at Tasha's apartment with several garment bags. "Mr. Blake said you needed options for tonight," the stylist said cheerfully. "I brought my favorite pieces." The dresses were stunning. One was emerald green, another midnight blue, a third was deep red. All of them were designer labels Tasha had only seen in magazines. "I can't wear any of these," Tasha protested. "They're too expensive. Their rental's dear. Mr. Blake has an account. Now, let's find the one that makes you feel beautiful." After trying on all three, Tasha stood in front of the mirror wearing the red dress. It fit perfectly, hugging her curves in all the right places. The neckline was elegant but not too revealing. The fabric shimmered when she moved. "This one," Caroline said with satisfaction. "Absolutely this one. You look stunning." Tasha barely recognized herself. With her hair styled in soft curls and makeup that made her eyes look larger, she looked like someone who belonged at a billionaire's gala. Harrison knocked on her door at exactly 7 p.m. When Tasha opened it, his reaction made her breath catch. His eyes widened and for a moment he just stared. "You look..." He cleared his throat. "That dress is perfect. Caroline has good taste." "It's not the dress." Harrison's voice was rough. "It's you." He looked pretty incredible himself in a tailored black tuxedo. His dark hair was styled back from his face, and the formal clothes made him look even more intimidating than usual. The gala was held in a hotel ballroom decorated with white flowers and crystal chandeliers. Women in designer gowns mingled with men in tuxedos, champagne glasses in hand. A string quartet played in the corner. Tasha felt completely out of her element. Harrison must have noticed her tension because he leaned close and whispered, "Most of these people are insufferable. Just smile and nod. I'll handle the talking." That's not reassuring. It wasn't meant to be. It was meant to be honest. He guided her toward a group of well-dressed couples. "Come on. Let's get this over with." The next hour was a blur of introductions and small talk. Harrison introduced Tasha as his assistant, and most people barely acknowledged her beyond a polite nod. She could see them dismissing her, categorizing her as unimportant. But Harrison never treated her that way. He included her in conversations, asked her opinion, made sure she had everything she needed. When one particularly condescending businessman tried to talk over her, Harrison cut him off mid-sentence. Tasha was speaking, he said coolly. I believe we should let her finish. The businessman stammered an apology and Tasha finished her thought. After that, people started paying more attention to her. During dinner, they sat at a table with other executives and their spouses. The conversation turned to business, then to politics, then to the kind of gossip that comes with too much champagne. Harrison, you really must settle down, one woman said loudly. A man in your position needs a wife. Someone to manage your social calendar and look good at events. I have an excellent assistant who manages my calendar quite well, Harrison replied. And I don't need anyone to look good. I can manage that myself. But surely you want children? An heir? I'm 35, not 80. I have time. Time has a way of slipping away, dear. Trust me. The woman glanced at Tasha. What about you, dear? Are you married? No, ma'am. Children? No. Well, you're young. You have time. Although you should think about it soon. A woman's fertility drops significantly after 30. Tasha felt her jaw clench. I'm aware of the biological facts, thank you. But I'm focused on my career right now. Oh, career. The woman said it like a dirty word. That's wonderful, dear. But don't forget that family is what really matters in the end. Harrison's hand found Tasha's under the table, giving it a gentle squeeze. A silent message, ignore her. After dinner, Harrison led Tasha to the dance floor. She tensed. I don't know how to dance like this, she whispered. Just follow my lead. He pulled her close, one hand on her waist, the other holding hers. Trust me. The music was slow and romantic. Tasha let Harrison guide her across the floor, surprised to find she could follow his movements easily. He was a good dancer, confident and smooth. You handled that woman well, he murmured. I thought you were going to throw champagne in her face. I considered it. That would have been worth seeing. Harrison smiled. Thank you for coming tonight. I know this isn't your scene. It's interesting. I've never seen how the other half lives. We're not all insufferable. Some of us are trying to do good work. I know. I see you doing it every day. Something shifted in his expression. Tasha, may I cut in? They both turned to see an elegant woman in her 60s wearing a green gown. She had Harrison's eyes. Mother, Harrison said, surprise evident in his voice. I didn't know you were here. Last-minute decision. Introduce me to your lovely companion. This is Tasha Robinson, my assistant. Tasha, this is my mother, Patricia Blake. Patricia's eyes sparkled with interest. Your assistant. How interesting. Harrison, would you mind if I borrowed Miss Robinson for a dance? Before either of them could respond, Patricia had swept Tasha into a dance position, leading with the confidence of someone used to getting her way. So you're the one, Patricia said as they moved across the floor. The one. The one my son can't stop talking about. The one who challenges him, makes him eat lunch and generally treats him like a human being instead of a walking checkbook. Tasha felt heat rise in her cheeks. I'm just doing my job. Nonsense. You're doing much more than that. I can see it in the way he looks at you. And the way you look at him. Mrs. Blake, I assure you, there's nothing inappropriate happening. I didn't say inappropriate. I said interesting. Patricia smiled. Do you know why I approved of you? Because Harrison speaks highly of me? Because you came from nothing and fought your way to something. Just like I did. Patricia's voice softened. I wasn't always Patricia Blake, darling. I grew up in a trailer park in Oklahoma. Worked 3 jobs to put myself through community college. Met Harrison's father when I was waitressing at a restaurant he frequented. Everyone said it wouldn't work, that we were from different worlds. But we made it work for 25 years before he passed. Tasha stared at her. I had no idea. Most people don't. I learned to blend in, to speak their language, to wear the right clothes and say the right things. But I never forgot where I came from. And I never let anyone make me feel less than because of it. Patricia met her eyes. My son needs someone who won't let him forget what matters. Someone who sees him, not his money. Someone brave enough to be real with him. I care about Harrison, Tasha admitted quietly. But I'm his employee. Anything more would be complicated. Life is complicated, dear. The question is whether the complication is worth it. Patricia glanced over at Harrison, who was watching them with barely concealed curiosity. He's a good man. Lonely but good. Don't let fear stop you from finding out if it could be something real. The song ended and Patricia released Tasha with a warm smile. It was lovely to meet you, Miss Robinson. I hope to see much more of you in the future. She glided away, leaving Tasha standing alone on the dance floor. Harrison appeared at her elbow immediately. What did my mother say to you? That you can't stop talking about me. Harrison closed his eyes briefly. I'm going to have words with her. Don't. I liked her. Tasha turned to face him. She told me about her background. About meeting your father. She wanted you to know that impossible love stories can work out? Something like that. My mother is many things, but subtle is not one of them. Harrison held out his hand. One more dance before we leave? Tasha took his hand and let him pull her close. This time felt different. More intimate. Like they were the only two people in the room. I meant what I said earlier, Harrison murmured. You look beautiful tonight. I keep forgetting to breathe when I look at you. Harrison. I know. I'm your boss. This is complicated. We should maintain boundaries. His hand tightened on her waist. But I'm tired of pretending I don't care about you. That you're just my assistant and nothing more. What are you saying? I'm saying that I'm falling for you, Tasha Robinson. And I have no idea what to do about it. Tasha's heart hammered in her chest. Every rational thought told her to step back, to maintain professional distance. But her heart wanted something different. I'm falling for you too, she whispered. And it terrifies me. We don't have to figure it out tonight. We can take it slow. See where this goes. Harrison's eyes searched hers. But I need to know if you want to try. If there's a chance this could be something real. Tasha thought about Patricia's words. About fear and complications and whether it was worth it. She thought about Harrison paying for her grandmother's surgery. About him listening to her ideas and making her feel valued. About the way he looked at her like she was the most important person in the world. I want to try, she said. But we have to be careful. I can't lose my job, Harrison. I need it too much. You won't lose your job. I promise you that. Whatever happens between us, your position is secure. I'll put it in writing if you need me to. Let's start with dinner. A real date, not a work event. Harrison smiled and it transformed his entire face. I can do dinner. When? Tomorrow? Tomorrow, he agreed. It's a date. As they danced, Tasha felt something shift inside her. Fear was still there, but so was hope. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. Their first real date was at a small Italian restaurant far from the business district, the kind of place where Harrison could be relatively anonymous. He'd chosen it specifically because it was quiet and intimate, away from prying eyes. Tasha wore a simple maroon dress and felt nervous in a way that had nothing to do with her job. This was different. This was personal. Harrison arrived wearing jeans and a blue button-down shirt, looking more relaxed than she'd ever seen him. He smiled when he saw her. You look beautiful. You said that at the gala. It's still true. He held out his arm. Shall we? Dinner was easy in a way Tasha hadn't expected. They talked about everything and nothing. Favorite books, childhood memories, dreams for the future. Harrison told her about growing up with pressure to live up to his father's legacy. Tasha shared stories about her grandmother and the lessons she'd learned growing up poor but loved. I admire your relationship with Ruth, Harrison said over dessert. You'd do anything for her. She raised me after my parents died. She's all the family I have. How old were you when you lost them? A car accident. Ruth took me in without hesitation, even though she was already working 2 jobs and could barely afford to feed herself. Tasha's voice softened. She sacrificed everything for me. The least I can do is take care of her now. That's why you were working 3 jobs. That's why I was working myself to death, yes. Tasha met his eyes. And that's why I dropped that jar of pickles on your car. Harrison had been reaching for his wine, but his hand stopped halfway. I've been wondering about that night. You said you didn't see the car, that you were exhausted. But there's more to it, isn't there? Tasha had been carrying the full truth for weeks now. The guilt of it, the shame. She told herself she'd come clean eventually when the time was right. Maybe the time was right now. I'd been awake for 36 hours, she began quietly. I'd worked the breakfast shift at the diner, then gone straight to the office building to clean, then to Blake Tower for my night shift. My supervisor had called in sick, so I'd covered his work too. I was so tired I could barely see straight. Harrison listened without interrupting, his full attention on her. But that's not why I was in the parking garage. I was there because I'd gotten a call from the hospital. Ruth had collapsed. They were running tests checking her heart. The doctor told me she needed surgery soon or... Tasha's voice caught. Or she might not make it. Tasha. I'd been crying in the parking garage because I knew I couldn't afford the surgery. I knew that no matter how hard I worked, I was going to lose her. And I was carrying those pickled vegetables because I'd promised to bring them to her, and I never break promises to Ruth. Tears pricked Tasha's eyes. Then the jar just slipped. I was so exhausted and upset that I didn't even realize I was standing next to your car until it was too late. By the time I saw what I'd done, the damage was already done. Harrison reached across the table and took her hand. Why didn't you tell me this before? Because it felt like making excuses. I damaged your property. The reasons didn't change that fact. The reasons change everything. His thumb traced circles on her palm. You were dealing with a family emergency, working yourself to exhaustion trying to save someone you love. Anyone would have made a mistake under those circumstances. I still destroyed your car. A car can be fixed. What you went through, what you were facing, that's real pain. Real fear. Harrison squeezed her hand. I'm sorry you had to carry that alone. I wasn't alone. I had Ruth. And then, somehow, I had you. They sat in silence for a moment, hands linked across the table. Tasha felt lighter somehow, like she'd been carrying a weight she hadn't realized was there. Can I ask you something? Harrison said finally. Of course. That night when I offered you the job, you accepted immediately. No negotiation, no hesitation. Why? My grandmother would have told me to. She always says that when someone offers you a hand up, you take it with gratitude. Pride is expensive and we couldn't afford it. She's a wise woman. She is. And she likes you, by the way. She keeps asking when you're going to visit again. Harrison smiled. I like her too. She's the only person besides you who treats me like a normal human being. You are a normal human being. You've just got more money than most. Sometimes I think the money makes it harder to connect with people. Everyone wants something, or they're intimidated, or they see me as a resource to use. He met her eyes. But you never treated me that way. Even that first night when I held all the power, you stood your ground. You were honest and direct. It was refreshing. I didn't have anything left to lose. That makes honesty easier. Maybe. Or maybe you're just brave. Harrison signaled for the check. Come on. I want to show you something. 20 minutes later, they pulled up to the same parking garage where Tasha had destroyed Harrison's car. She looked at him questioningly. Trust me, he said. They took the elevator down to the VIP section. And there, in Harrison's designated spot, sat the cherry red convertible. Except it wasn't quite the same car. The paint job was different now. Instead of the original cherry red, it was a deep, rich red with subtle golden flecks that caught the light. And along the side, in elegant script, were the words, Second Chances. Tasha stared at the car, her throat tight with emotion. I had it restored, Harrison said quietly. Better than before. The paint is custom, designed to be more durable. The interior is updated with better materials. It's the same car but improved. Transformed by what happened to it. Why, second chances? Because that's what you gave me. A second chance to be something more than just a CEO obsessed with work. A second chance to connect with someone real. A second chance to remember why I built this company in the first place. He turned to face her. You changed my life, Tasha. That night, when you spilled pickles on my car, you gave me something I didn't know I was missing. What? Oh, companionship. Someone who sees me, not my bank account. Harrison took her hands in his. I know this is fast. I know it's complicated. But I need you to know that what I feel for you is real. It's not about gratitude or convenience. It's about finding someone who makes me want to be better. Someone who challenges me and supports me and makes me laugh. Someone I can't stop thinking about no matter how hard I try. Tasha felt tears spill down her cheeks. Harrison, You don't have to say anything right now. I just wanted you to know. And I wanted you to see this car because every time I look at it now, I think about how the best things in life come from unexpected places. From mistakes that turn into blessings. Tasha threw her arms around him, holding tight. Harrison wrapped his arms around her, pulling her close. Thank you, she whispered. For everything. For the job, for Ruth's surgery, for seeing me as more than just a mistake. For this. You're not a mistake, Tasha. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. They stood in the parking garage, holding each other, and Tasha felt something shift inside her. The fear was still there, but it was smaller now. Overwhelmed by something bigger. Well, she was falling in love with Harrison Blake. And maybe, just maybe, that was okay. The next few weeks were the happiest of Tasha's life. She and Harrison maintained professionalism at work, but after hours they were building something real. Quiet dinners at out-of-the-way restaurants. Long conversations in her apartment that lasted until dawn. Walks through the city where they could just be two people enjoying each other's company. Harrison was different when they were alone. Funnier, more relaxed, more open. He told her about his fears and insecurities, about the pressure he felt to live up to his father's legacy. Tasha shared her dreams of one day going to college, of building something lasting that would make Ruth proud. "You could go now," Harrison said one evening as they sat on her balcony watching the sunset. "You have the money. The time. I'd support you. I can't leave my job. I can't leave you. You wouldn't be leaving me. You'd be investing in your future. Our future." He pulled her close. "I want you to have everything you've dreamed of, Tasha. Don't put your life on hold for me." But that was the thing. Tasha didn't feel like she was putting her life on hold. For the first time in years, she felt like she was actually living. Ruth noticed the change immediately during one of Tasha's visits to her apartment. The surgery had been successful and Ruth was recovering well, strong enough now to return home. "You're glowing, baby girl," Ruth said with a knowing smile. "That man has something to do with it." "What man?" Tasha tried to sound innocent. "Don't play coy with me. Harrison Blake. The one who visits me in the hospital, who paid for my surgery, who looks at you like you hung the moon and stars." Tasha felt herself blushing. "We're seeing each other. Dating, I guess." "I know. He told me." "He what?" "He came by last week, asked my blessing to court you properly." Such an old-fashioned word, court. But I appreciated the respect. Ruth reached out and squeezed Tasha's hand. "He's a good man, sweetheart. Don't let fear ruin this. What if it doesn't work out? What if his world and my world are too different? What if it does work out? What if you're exactly what each other needs?" Ruth's eyes were gentle. Love is always a risk. But the best things in life usually are. Tasha wanted to believe that. But doubt crept in during quiet moments. Harrison's world was so different from hers. She'd seen it at the gala, at business dinners, in the way people treated him with deference and respect. He belonged to a world of wealth and privilege, of country clubs and private jets. And Tasha? She was the granddaughter of a woman who'd worked as a maid her entire life. She'd grown up in a small apartment with hand-me-down clothes and second-hand furniture. She'd never been on a plane, never stayed in a five-star hotel, never owned anything truly expensive before Harrison came into her life. How could this possibly work long-term? Her doubts crystallized one evening when Harrison invited her to dinner at his penthouse apartment. She'd never been there before. He'd always come to her place, maintaining some semblance of boundaries. The penthouse was stunning. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a view of the entire city. Modern art hung on the walls. The furniture looked like it belonged in a museum. Everything was perfect, expensive, and completely intimidating. "Do you like it?" Harrison asked, watching her reaction. "It's beautiful. Very you." "Is it?" "I'm not sure I even know what very me means anymore." He walked to the windows looking out at the city. "I bought this place 5 years ago because it was a good investment. But I've never really felt at home here. It's just a place to sleep between work sessions." "Where do you feel at home?" "With you." He turned to face her. "In your apartment, eating takeout on the couch and watching bad movies? That feels more like home than anywhere I've ever lived." The admission made her heart ache. "Harrison, I need to tell you something." "That sounds ominous." "I'm scared." "Of this, of us, of what happens when people find out we're together." Tasha's voice shook slightly. "Your world and my world are so different. I don't know how to be the person you need me to be. I don't need you to be anyone other than who you are. But what about your business associates? Your mother is wonderful, but not everyone will be so accepting. Some people will judge you for being with someone like me. Someone who cleaned toilets for a living. Someone who didn't go to college or grow up in the right zip code." Harrison closed the distance between them in 3 long strides. He cupped her face in his hands, forcing her to meet his eyes. "Listen to me carefully, Tasha Robinson. I don't care what anyone else thinks. Not my business associates, not society, not anyone. You are the best person I know. The kindest, the strongest, the most genuine. You've worked harder than anyone I've ever met, sacrificed more, loved more deeply. Anyone who judges you for where you came from isn't worth my time or energy. But, no buts, you are enough exactly as you are. More than enough. You're everything." Tears spilled down Tasha's cheeks. "I love you." I didn't mean to and I tried not to, but I do. I love you so much it scares me. Harrison's face softened. I love you too. I have for weeks. Maybe since that first night when you stood in my office and refused to apologize for trying to take care of your grandmother. You were so fierce and honest and real. How could I not fall in love with you? He kissed her then, soft and gentle, like she was something precious. Tasha melted into him, letting herself believe just for a moment that this could work. When they finally pulled apart, Harrison rested his forehead against hers. Stay with me tonight, he murmured. Not in my bed if you're not ready for that. But just stay. Let's watch bad movies and order takeout and pretend the rest of the world doesn't exist. Okay, Tasha whispered. I'll stay. They spent the night curled up on his absurdly expensive couch, eating Chinese food straight from the containers and watching terrible action movies. Harrison kept his arm around her, and Tasha let herself relax into his warmth. This was real. This was right. Whatever doubts tomorrow brought, tonight she had this. And maybe that was enough. Are you rooting for Tasha and Harrison's love story? Do you think they can overcome the challenges ahead? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to see what happens next. The biggest test of their relationship is coming, and you won't want to miss it. The article appeared in the business section of the newspaper on a Tuesday morning, and by noon, it had gone viral. Billionaire CEO's secret romance with former cleaning lady, the unlikely love story of Harrison Blake and Tasha Robinson. The article was vicious. It painted Tasha as a gold digger who'd manipulated her way into Harrison's life. It detailed her background, the poverty, the 3 jobs, the grandmother's medical bills. It made it all sound calculating, strategic, like she'd planned the entire thing from the moment she spilled pickles on his car. Tasha read the article in horror, her hands shaking. Sources close to Blake Enterprises report that Robinson began as a night janitor before mysteriously being promoted to Blake's personal assistant. Coincidentally, this promotion came shortly after an incident involving damage to Blake's valuable vintage automobile. One has to wonder, was this a case of strategic planning, or simply an opportunist taking advantage of a billionaire's generosity? The article went on to question Tasha's qualifications, her character, even her relationship with Ruth. It suggested that Harrison's decision to pay for Ruth's surgery was evidence of Tasha's manipulation rather than his generosity. The worst part? The article had been written by a journalist with close ties to Vincent Morris. This was revenge. Vincent was trying to destroy Harrison's reputation by destroying Tasha. Her phone rang. Harrison. Don't read the article, he said immediately. I know it's too late, but don't read it again. It's garbage. Harrison, this is going to ruin you. Your board, your investors, they'll see this and think you've lost your mind. Let them think what they want. I know the truth. You know the truth. That's what matters. Is it? What about your company? Your reputation? My company will be fine. My reputation is irrelevant. All I care about is you. His voice was fierce. Are you okay? No. She wasn't okay. She felt exposed, vulnerable, like her entire life had been picked apart for public consumption. But Harrison didn't need to hear that. I'm fine. But you need to do damage control. Distance yourself from me before this gets worse. Absolutely not. Harrison, be reasonable. This is your career, your legacy. You can't throw it away for me. I'm not throwing anything away. I'm standing by the woman I love. There's a difference. Before Tasha could respond, her other line beeped. She glanced at the screen. It's Angela. I should take this. Call me back as soon as you're done. Tasha switched lines. Angela? Girl, have you seen the news? Everyone's talking about you and Harrison Blake. Is it true? Are you really dating him? Yes, it's true. We've been together for a few weeks. And he really paid for your grandma's surgery? Girl, that's like a fairy tale. It's not a fairy tale. It's my life. And right now, it's falling apart. Tasha felt tears threaten. That article makes me sound like a monster. Like I planned everything to trap him. Anyone who knows you knows that's garbage. You're the most honest person I know. Angela paused. What are you going to do? I don't know. Harrison wants to fight this, but I don't want to drag him down. Maybe I should just resign. Disappear. Let him move on with his life. Don't you dare. You love him and he loves you. Don't let some jealous businessman ruin that. After hanging up with Angela, Tasha sat in her apartment trying to figure out her next move. She could resign, walk away, let Harrison salvage his reputation without her. It would be the noble thing to do. But she didn't want to be noble. She wanted to fight. Her phone buzzed with a text from Harrison. Emergency board meeting at 2 p.m. Vincent called it. I need you there. Tasha's stomach dropped. This was it. The moment when Harrison would have to choose between her and his company. She arrived at the conference room at 1:55 p.m., wearing her most professional outfit, a green blouse and tailored pants. She held her head high as she walked past whispering employees and judgmental stares. Harrison was already in the conference room, standing at the head of the table. The board members were filing in, their expressions ranging from curious to hostile. Vincent Morris entered last, wearing a smug smile that made Tasha want to punch him. Shall we begin? Vincent said, taking his seat. We're here to discuss the unfortunate publicity surrounding Mr. Blake's personal life and how it reflects on this company. There's nothing to discuss, Harrison said coolly. My personal life is my own business. Not when it affects shareholder confidence. Not when it makes the company look unstable. You're the face of Blake Enterprises, Harrison. Your decisions matter. I agree. Which is why I want to be clear about my position. Harrison looked directly at Vincent. Tasha Robinson is my girlfriend. She's also one of the most capable, intelligent, hardworking people I've ever met. The article you leaked to the press was designed to humiliate her and undermine me. It will fail on both counts. Vincent's smile faltered slightly. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't insult my intelligence. We both know you planted that story. Just like we both know you've been trying to destroy me ever since your embezzlement scheme failed. This is just your latest attempt. Murmurs rippled around the table. Several board members looked uncomfortable. I have evidence, Harrison continued, nodding to his lawyer who distributed folders to each board member. Text messages between Vincent and the journalist. Financial records showing payments made the day before the article was published. Everything you need to see that this was a coordinated attack. Vincent's face turned red. This is absurd. I don't have to sit here and be accused of. You can leave if you'd like. But your board seat goes with you. I'm calling for a vote of no confidence. Either Vincent resigns immediately, or we put it to a vote and he's removed forcibly. The room erupted in conversation. Tasha watched from her position near the door, her heart pounding. Patricia Chin spoke up. I've seen enough. Vincent, you've been a divisive presence on this board for months. It's time for you to go. I agree, said another board member. This attack on Miss Robinson was beneath contempt. One by one the board members spoke. Some reluctantly, some enthusiastically, but all in agreement. Vincent had to go. Within 20 minutes, Vincent Morris was escorted from the building, his board seat revoked, his reputation in tatters. Harrison walked over to where Tasha stood. Are you okay? You just destroyed a board member for me. I destroyed a board member for trying to manipulate me and hurt someone I care about. Big difference. He took her hands. I told you, Tasha. I'm not letting anyone make you feel small. Not Vincent, not the press, not anyone. What about the article? People still believe it. Then we'll show them the truth. Harrison raised his voice, addressing the remaining board members. I want a press conference scheduled for tomorrow. I'm going public about my relationship with Tasha. Let people see the real story, not Vincent's twisted version. Harrison, you don't have to do that, Tasha protested. Yes, I do. I'm tired of hiding. Tired of pretending that what we have isn't important. You're important to me. The world should know that. The next day, Harrison held a press conference in the main lobby of Blake Tower. Reporters crowded in, cameras flashing. Tasha stood beside him, terrified but determined. Harrison spoke with his usual confidence. I'm here to address recent media reports regarding my personal life. Yes, I'm in a relationship with Tasha Robinson. Yes, she was previously employed as a janitor in this building. And yes, I consider that one of the luckiest things that ever happened to me. He went on to explain their relationship, the car incident, the job offer, their growing connection. He talked about Tasha's intelligence, her work ethic, her character. Tasha makes me a better person, Harrison said. She challenges me, supports me, and reminds me why I built this company in the first place. To create something meaningful. To help people. She embodies those values better than anyone I know. I'm proud to be with her, and I won't apologize for it. Tasha felt tears prick her eyes. Harrison reached over and took her hand, holding it up for everyone to see. Any relationship between people from different backgrounds will face challenges, he continued. But those challenges are worth facing when you find someone worth fighting for. Tasha is worth fighting for. Our relationship is worth fighting for. And I'll stand here and say that to anyone who questions it. The press conference ended with a flurry of questions, but Harrison had said everything he needed to say. As they left the lobby, Tasha felt lighter than she had in days. Thank you, she whispered. Don't thank me for telling the truth. Harrison squeezed her hand. Besides, you stood by me during the Vincent crisis. It's only fair I stand by you now. We make a good team. The best team. He smiled. What do you say we get out of here? Go somewhere quiet and celebrate surviving our first major crisis together? I'd like that. As they walked toward the exit, Tasha caught sight of their reflection in the glass doors. A billionaire CEO and a former janitor, hand in hand, facing the world together. It wasn't a fairy tale. It was real, messy, complicated life. And it was beautiful. 6 months later, Tasha stood in the parking garage of Blake Tower, staring at the cherry-red convertible with its "Second Chances" inscription. So much had changed since that night when she'd spilled pickles all over this car. So much had grown from that one impossible moment. You're early, Harrison's voice came from behind her. She turned to find him walking toward her, wearing jeans and a blue sweater. Casual. Relaxed. Happy. I couldn't sleep. Too excited. Me either. He stopped in front of the car, running his hand along the hood. I have something for you. Another something? Harrison, you've already given me everything. Not everything. Not yet. He pulled a small box from his pocket and dropped to one knee. Tasha's breath caught in her throat. Tasha Robinson, you changed my life the night you accidentally pickled my car. You showed me what was missing from my life. Honesty, kindness, real connection. You challenged me to be better, to care more, to remember what actually matters. You loved me not for what I have, but for who I am. And I want to spend the rest of my life being the man you deserve. He opened the box to reveal a simple, elegant ring with a single diamond. Will you marry me? Tasha felt tears streaming down her face. Yes. Yes, of course yes. Harrison slipped the ring onto her finger and stood, pulling her into his arms. They kissed there in the parking garage in the exact spot where their story had begun. I love you, he murmured against her lips. My beautiful, fierce, perfect Tasha. I love you too. My kind, generous, occasionally infuriating Harrison. He laughed, a sound of pure joy. Infuriating? You rented out an entire restaurant for our 6-month anniversary. That's excessive. And yet you loved it. I did. I love everything about you. They stood holding each other, the converted car beside them, a testament to how something broken could be made beautiful again. The wedding took place 3 months later in a small garden ceremony. Tasha wore a simple white dress that made her feel like a princess. Harrison wore a gray suit and couldn't stop smiling. Ruth sat in the front row, healthy and radiant, crying happy tears. Patricia Blake sat beside her, the two women having formed an unlikely friendship bonded by their love for the couple. Angela was Tasha's maid of honor, wearing a bright green dress and grinning like a fool. Harrison's best man was his lawyer, who'd helped him through every crisis. The ceremony was short and sweet. No long speeches, no elaborate productions. Just two people promising to love each other through whatever life threw at them. When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, Harrison kissed Tasha like she was his entire world. Because she was. At the reception held in the rooftop garden of Blake Tower, Tasha found herself surrounded by people who'd become family. Employees from the company who'd come to respect and care for her. Board members who'd seen past their initial skepticism. Friends from her old jobs who'd supported her through everything. Ruth pulled her aside during the dancing. Look at you, baby girl. All grown up and married to a good man. I'm so proud of you. None of this would have happened without you, Grandma. You taught me everything that matters. I taught you to be honest and kind. The rest you figured out yourself. Ruth squeezed her hand. You're going to be happy, Tasha. I can see it. This man loves you with his whole heart. I love him too. So much it scares me sometimes. Love should be a little scary. Means it's real. Ruth smiled. Now go dance with your husband. He's been staring at you for the past 5 minutes like he can't believe his luck. Tasha found Harrison at the edge of the dance floor and sure enough, he was watching her with an expression that made her heart melt. Dance with me, Mrs. Blake? I'm keeping my name, remember? Dance with me, Mrs. Robinson, who I'm lucky enough to call my wife? Much better. They swayed together under the stars, surrounded by the lights of the city they both called home. Tasha rested her head on Harrison's chest, listening to his heartbeat. I have a wedding present for you, Harrison murmured. Besides the honeymoon in Italy that you already know about. You didn't need to get me anything else. I wanted to. Actually, we wanted to. He guided her toward where Patricia stood with Ruth. Both women were smiling mysteriously. Patricia handed Tasha a folder. Open it. Inside were papers establishing the Robinson Blake Foundation, dedicated to helping working families struggling with medical bills. The foundation would cover costs for surgeries, treatments, medications. Everything Tasha had struggled to afford for Ruth. Harrison, Tasha breathed. This is incredible. It was your idea actually. Remember when you said more families shouldn't have to choose between rent and medical care? I agreed. So we're doing something about it. He wrapped his arm around her waist. Your grandmother and my mother are both on the board of directors. They'll help run it while we're on our honeymoon. Tasha looked at the two older women, both beaming with pride. We're going to help a lot of people, baby girl, Ruth said. In your name and Harrison's. Making sure what happened to us doesn't happen to others. I don't know what to say. Say you'll stop crying and enjoy your wedding, Patricia said warmly. Though I understand. I cried at mine too. Tasha hugged both women, overwhelmed by gratitude and love. Then Harrison pulled her back into his arms. Happy? He asked. Happier than I ever thought possible. Good. Because I plan to spend the rest of my life making sure you stay that way. They danced until midnight, surrounded by love and laughter and the promise of tomorrow. When the reception finally ended, Harrison swept Tasha into his arms and carried her to the cherry-red convertible. Our chariot awaits, he said dramatically. You're ridiculous. You married me anyway. Best decision I ever made. Harrison drove them through the city, the top down, stars overhead. Tasha leaned back in her seat, the wind in her hair, her hand in Harrison's. This car had started everything. One jar of pickles, one moment of exhaustion, one impossible accident that led to the greatest love story of her life. They pulled up to Harrison's penthouse, their penthouse now, and Harrison came around to open Tasha's door. Mrs. Blake, he said, offering his hand. Still Robinson, she corrected, taking it anyway. Mrs. Robinson then. My wife. My partner. My everything. He kissed her there on the street, under the glow of streetlights, and Tasha felt her heart overflow with joy. She'd spent years fighting to survive, working herself to exhaustion, sacrificing everything for the people she loved. She'd thought that was what life was, struggle, sacrifice, endless hard work with little reward. But she'd been wrong. Life could be beautiful. Life could be full of love and laughter and second chances. Life could surprise you in the best possible ways. All it took was being brave enough to accept help when it was offered. Brave enough to trust. Brave enough to love. And Tasha had been all those things. As Harrison carried her into their home, Tasha looked back at the cherry-red car one last time. Second chances gleamed in the streetlight. How perfect, she thought. How absolutely perfect. Because that's exactly what this was. A second chance at happiness. At love. At life. And she wasn't going to waste a single moment of it.